What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back to talk about some more boxing. I want to start off talking about yesterday's fights. I think it was a great night of boxing. It was great for the sport to see that many fights. I still don't like how Top Rank and Golden Boy decided to have both fights on the same night. I think it's pretty stupid because in the end I just picked the fights that I wanted to see the most, and I watched that first, and then I went back and then watched the second. So in my case, I watched the HBO pay-per-view card, and then I went back after that and watched the Showtime card. As far as we'll start with HBO pay-per-view. Chavez Jr. Sergio Martinez fight. It was an exciting fight towards the stretch. As I predicted in my previous video, Sergio Martinez would have his hand raised at the end. I told you Chavez Jr. is a big boy. I don't know if Sergio will be able to KO him or TKO him, but it's either going to be by KO or TKO or a unanimous decision. And in this case, it was a unanimous decision. According to Roy Jones Jr., somebody who's a fighter and has fought in the middleweight division, he said Chavez Jr. appeared to be about 185 pounds, and he was ringside. So if anybody can give an accurate or a pretty close guesstimate, I would say Roy Jones would be that man. So Chavez he's a big dude. He's a lot bigger than Sergio Martinez. Sergio Martinez is a small middleweight. So it's kind of like a David and the Goliath type of story. I thought it would be a little bit more competitive, to be honest. Chavez, in my book, he was dominated for 11 and a half rounds. Sergio Martinez was landing at will. He was controlling the pace of the fight. He was being the showboating, hot dogging Sergio Martinez that we've grown to love. It looked like his movement was really frustrating Chavez Jr. He never had time to set up his punches because Sergio Martinez would be against the ropes. And as soon as it got too dangerous, he would just move out. And that's boxing, folks. A lot of people say he's running. I don't consider that running. I mean, obviously, if a guy outweighs you by 25, 30 pounds, you're not going to do the things that are going to give him the upper hand or the advantage. So, obviously, giving movement would be the best for a smaller fighter in that case. So, it was an amazing fight. I liked it. Chavez Jr., he definitely showed a lot. I definitely earned a different level of respect for him. For one, stepping in the ring with someone who I consider an elite fighter in Sergio Martinez. And he held his own. He never got knocked down, never got knocked out. And he was able to muster up enough courage and strength. And he was not so broken, even though he got dominated for 11 and a half rounds. He wasn't so frustrated or he didn't mentally quit. And he was able to land a big shot that caught Sergio Martinez. I honestly think Sergio Martinez made his night harder. They just talked a lot of shit on 24/7 and various YouTube videos that I've seen. So I think Sergio was trying to make good with all the promises that he made about disfiguring Chavez Jr. and knocking him out. So he got a little overzealous and a little overconfident in that 12th round, and he had been controlling the pace of the fight. So I think he let his guard down and he got caught with something big, and that's boxing. It happens. And Chavez Jr. is not a soft puncher, so I mean, it is what it is. But it was a good fight. Chavez Jr. almost pulled a Chavez Sr. against Meldrick Taylor and had a 12th round rally. So it was just good for boxing. As far as the Showtime card, main event, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. I thought Josecito would at least have a little bit of chance to shine and have his Rocky underdog moments where he was complicating matters, but it just proved him going up basically 2 weight classes in a year. It wasn't the best look. He was clearly dominated, and no match for Canelo's size, technique, speed, and power. It was a mismatch. I think Golden Boy kind of just went with that fight just on the business aspect, just because Josecito had garnered new fans by breaking Victor Ortiz's jaw. So they had some failures with their previous opponents, so they saw fit to replace with Josecito on Mexican Independence Day weekend. But as we all know, it was pretty much a mismatch, and I think it did a little bit less for Canelo than Chavez Jr.'s fight, because even though Chavez Jr. lost, I feel his career is not at at stake. Nobody, I think, if anything, he probably gained the respect of a lot of people because, again, he's fighting an elite fighter, and he should have been mentally broken by Sergio Martinez landing at will, and he still rallied. But in Canelo's case, he was the bigger man. He had all the advantages in the world. So it just, I'm not saying it hurts Canelo, but at the same time, it doesn't really do much in terms of this is what everybody expected. It's like if you're in middle school and there's an 8th grader who's a lot bigger than a 6th grader, and then everyone gangs up after school and they fight, and then the 8th grader beats the shit out of the 6th grader. It's not really that much of an accomplishment. But if two 8th graders about the same size go at it, then and you win, it's a little bit different in terms of the victory, and that's just my opinion. But overall, great night of boxing. On the Showtime card, I did want to touch on this too. One of the most shocking things about the fights that I seen was Marcos Maidana. I think the Robert Garcia training with Robert Garcia is amazing because he almost looked like a different fighter. He was doing things that I can't recall Maidana doing. There's even a point in the fight against Soto Carras where he was against the ropes and he was almost rolling with the punches and kind of bobbing and weaving, almost Floyd Mayweather-esque. And I've never seen that level of defense. He just seemed like a different fighter. He had a different confidence. I've seen Maidana in the past where he's fighting like Amir Khan, I think it was a fight, and he had a chance to kind of get Amir Khan out of there, and he punched himself out. He looked a little bit tired and fatigued. And in this fight, he just kept coming. He looked like his training was better, his conditioning was better, and his overall game plan was better. I don't even recall a time where Maidana was out jabbing his opponents, but he kept flicking the jab out of there. And we all know Maidana has heavy hands, but to see him use the jab and mix it up a little bit more, show more defense, more movement, it was a beautiful thing. And most of the time you see a fighter and they switch trainers or they get a new trainer, and you don't really see immediate improvements like that. And sometimes you don't even see any improvements because a lot of times, especially the older the fighter gets, you have all these bad habits that have already been instilled in you, and bad habits are hard to break. So sometimes people don't change. They continue fighting the way that they want to fight, or they listen to your advice and then they get hit with something and then they immediately revert back to how they were fighting before or how their instincts tell them to fight. And so in Maidana's case, I thought it was a night and day transformation that I seen in Maidana. Just him using the jab, mixing it up, better defense, great fight for him. Soto Carras is a tough customer, and he's tough as nails. His chin cannot be questioned. He was taking some big shots, big shots, and he kept coming forward, almost like a Margarito type fighter. And it was good to see. That was one of my favorite undercard fights. Speaking of trainers, Amir Khan has officially split with Freddie Roach, so they're no longer working together. Amir Khan apparently gave Freddie Roach an ultimatum stating that, hey, if you want to continue training me, then you're going to have to ditch Pacquiao and you're going to have to ditch Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And I mean, that makes no sense for Freddie Roach. He makes more money from Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and Pacquiao combined, to the point where it would make no sense to drop two cash cows and fighters that I believe he's been working with longer and had a longer history with to train Amir Khan. So, I mean, that's just ludicrous to even proposition someone with or give him that ultimatum. But Amir Khan has announced that he has a new trainer, and I heard he's going with Virgil Hunter. And for you boxing fans, Virgil Hunter, you know who he is. But if you don't, that's Andre Ward's trainer. So I'm curious to see how that'll turn out. Amir Khan's biggest flaw is his defense. He lacks defense. He tries to mix it up, and his chin is suspect. His chin is questionable. I don't care what anybody says. His chin is questionable. And if you have a questionable chin, then you definitely have to work on your defense. So As far as Andre Ward, he's in my pound for pound top 3 list. So Virgil Hunter is an awesome trainer. I'm anxious to see exactly what kind of work he'll be able to do with Amir Khan, and in what ways he'll be able to improve Amir Khan's fight game. So that's pretty interesting to me. Amir Khan also went on record stating that Lucas Matisse against Ajose looked good, and that's a possible opponent for December. I made a video to this. It's on my channel. Check that out. I don't think that's a good idea for Amir Khan. Lucas Matisse, he's heavy-handed. He works the body. He has a solid defense. I think that's career suicide. But again, I already made a video with that on my channel. Check that out. So I'm just looking forward. There's a lot of good stuff in boxing. A fight that a lot of people aren't really talking about, or I haven't heard talking about, is Nonito on the undercard and Brandon Rios versus Mike Alvarado. I honestly feel that's going to be a sleeper hit, possible fight of the year candidate. You got 2 young, hungry fighters in their prime. They both hit hard and can get you out of there. And Brandon Rios is going up weight. They're both undefeated. I think it's going to be one hell of a fight, and I haven't heard a lot of noise about that, possibly because we had the other fights lined up like Canelo and Chavez Jr. and Sergio. But that's the fight that I'm definitely looking forward to next. I want to see the Mike Alvarado Brandon Rios fight, and then again you got Nonito, who's a great fighter, on that same card. I think the Alvarado Brandon Rios has the potential to be a fight of the year candidate. It's going to be in my opinion, I think it'll be in the same realm of Andre Berto versus Victor Ortiz, a fight you didn't really hear too much about, and then after it happened, you've seen clips all over the internet of it and highlights, and I think this has the potential to have that same magnitude in the boxing world. So looking forward to that. A lot of good stuff in boxing. I will keep you updated with predictions, and like my page, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. One of my predictions was right. The Canelo one, that was off. So anyway, subscribe, holla. Until next time.